Welcome, everyone, to another enlightening Ascension Wisdom Conversations. It is brought to you by Galactic Ascension Academy at SheilaTillich.com. Yes, this is the time to awaken and live your soul's mastery. I am a Galactic grandmother, Sheila Tillich, and I invite you to relax and enjoy this time together as we discover our Ascension Wisdom Mastery. As souls, we have entered a higher dimensional reality as humans on planet Earth. This is the new energy consciousness. It has awakened our multidimensional spiritual DNA abilities, which are given to us by our galactic ancestors. Join me, dear ones, as we live at our soul's full potential, live in our wisdom mastery in this ascension time. Hello, everybody. This is Sheila Tillich, Galactic Grandmother, and I am here for taping of Ascension Wisdom and then also for Serendipity with Sheila. And today, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming and being part of my community and also being part of my life, because this is what it's all about. We're all on this journey together. And with this actual taping today, I have a great surprise for you. And I have a great guest that I've invited in, and his name is Lowell Johnson. Lowell, hello, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a delight to be here.
I know.
Let's see where this takes us today.
I know exactly. Okay, so Lowell, I'm going to give you just a little bit of history. All right. So I met Lowell recently, and it was supposed to be exactly the way it was supposed to be. And he is considered the actual Telos ambassador or the Telos delegate. And a lot of people say, what is Telos? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to talk about more about this energy and this dimension that we're living in right now. And what does it mean for each and every one of us? So we're going to talk about multidimensionality and where we are in this timeline of humanity and what does it mean for our future. All right. So welcome, Lowell. Welcome.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
I know, isn't it?
That's a
But
lot of ground to cover today in maybe the
well,
next 90 minutes. We
I
may
know.
have to do this in episodes.
That's right. Absolutely. We might have to do that. And that's okay too, because it's like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And then also how fast this energy is changing. Next month might be totally different. We're going to be on a new course, next year,
Well,
definitely.
that's
Next year.
absolutely true. Yeah, I can't deny that whatever happened. Let's just stop for a moment. In my wherewithal, it was just January. I vividly remember a retreat that I was at the third weekend in January. I was like, that was just a couple of weeks ago, and we're in June. It's
I know.
almost July. So
I
where did the
know.
time go? Here is an example of this timeline acceleration, and we're all going through it, whether you're paying attention to it or not. Now, some of us have kind of jumped up. It's not that we still don't live in this 3D world and are suspect to everything that's around us, but we have the ability to kind of step back and take a look at things dimensionally. And
Yep.
for some of you, this may be a new topic, new ground to break today, but it's important that we do. So I'll just let you lead me, Sheila, and we'll see where this goes.
Okay, great. So I've heard about this and I've known about it for quite a while, but some other people might not. But Telos, all right, is all over the world, but one of the most famous ones is Mount Shasta. So I love Mount Shasta, and I've always felt a connection to Mount Shasta. And I know my whole identity as a galactic grandmother comes from Mount Shasta, along with my other experiences in other lifetimes, but also in the galactic lifetimes. So, being a delegate for Telos, which is also called the City of Lights. And I would like to have you share your experience. Your story was actually on Gaia.com about you going down on the Telos, right? So,
Yeah.
why
So yeah, for somebody that might not have heard it, or Telos is a new subject, if you have access to a subscription on Gaia, it's well worth you kind of getting your feet on the ground in terms of this particular topic. So let me tell you a little bit about what this place is, who these people are, and how I ended up there. Because I'm just like the rest of you. And until 2020, I was among the working class. I was an executive in the hospitality business and had run hotels and resorts and casinos and restaurants and all the things associated with that particular industry. But something had happened. I had a TIA at the very end of 2015 and had the procedure to correct it done. So for those of you that don't know what a TIA, it's a mini stroke. Mm-hmm. I had blockage in my carotid artery close enough to the brain that there was a concern that it needed to be corrected. Mm-hmm. And that's the point at which I can point back to when all of this began. Right. Now, it may have been attributed to once I had this surgery, I was going to be laid up on the couch for the next 30 days. And that's pretty much what my surgeon has suggested. One of the things that he recommended as a means of therapy might be meditation. Well, I thought, what a perfect time to be able to explore that, because there had been periods in my life when I wanted to understand, certainly heard about it. I saw people that benefited from it. It was something that I had an interest in, but for the life of me, I couldn't get to that quiet place everybody else suggested. I couldn't get my mind to quiet that much. Anyway, while I was there, over the next 4 weeks, I would try every app I could find, anything on the internet. The only thing I could not seem to locate was this mantra. Whatever this thing is that they claim that you needed to have, I could not find one or a place to buy it. But toward the end of this research, I watched The Secret for the third time. And in The Secret, of course, transcendental meditation is mentioned by a couple of the people that appear. And it triggered my curiosity, and that was the next rabbit hole I went down. So this all happened in December. By February, mid-February, I found a trainer, and that's not an easy thing. Everybody is trained exactly the same way Maharishi trained everyone. So this method has been trained the same way ever since its inception. It's a 4-day process. 4 consecutive days. First day is 90 minutes, and then there are 3 consecutive 60-minute days. And by the third day, I'm telling you, this stuff works. When after a few days, I understand the dynamics between when I was at home meditating by myself and even in this little group. Holy cow, was that compounded? You could really feel the differences in this. So once I got meditation down, we're off to the races to, this idea that if there's spirit and I can interact with it, that's what my curiosity was. So over the next few years, I'll still do, there's one consulting project I had worked on in Baton Rouge before. They'd asked me to return for it, and so I did. But about halfway through the project, something's just nagging me from the inside. Like, you're supposed to be doing something else. And there are only 2 colleagues out of the 450 employees at the casino that I can have these conversations with.
No. People don't get into conversations like this. No.
That's right. So anyway, I ended up leaving right before COVID locked everybody down. And then from February until the end of June, when those conditions seemed to relax, I had been holed up with my son and his roommates. And I don't want to go through that story because it'll just take time, and it's not relevant to the topic today. But I would end up planning to go somewhere other than Shasta when I could finally get out of the house. I just needed to get into nature. I just needed to be alone. And I needed that connection. And where I had planned to go at first in the Southwest, just anywhere near the Four Corners, ample places, tons of national parks to go visit. But during the initial stages of the research, their social media was claiming some of these places might not even be open, might not be staffed. And so the very next thought in my head was Mount Shasta. Don't ask me why. I'd driven by it a few times. I'd never been to it. I'd only heard a little bit about it. But the reality was it was a forest. There was a mountain. There was plenty of water nearby. And it was like a 4-hour drive from where I lived. So I can do that in a morning or an afternoon, and I'm good.
Where were you living? I know Mount Shasta.
Santa Rosa, California.
Okay. All right. Good. All right.
About an hour north of San Francisco. So getting there really wasn't a big deal. Anyway, over the time that I'm going to be here, I will learn lots of things about the mountain. First of all, what I knew about lemurians, and we'll start there, because I had been doing some past life regressions. And my interest initially was on Atlantis. Like many others, there's just something that nags inside of you that you just want to know more about. And when you can find the proper vessel, you can unlock a lot of that information. So when I learned what I learned about Atlantis, you can't really learn about Atlantis without understanding who the Lemurians were. So that was where my initial interaction and learning and research about the Lemurians began. It wasn't what drove me to Mount Shasta. Then it turns out that, we're going to go down a rabbit hole a little bit. So I want to just frame this in for your listeners.
Okay.
And it goes like this. If you don't really believe in reincarnation, then you're going to have trouble following where I'm going to take you. What I can tell you, and what most of you, I believe, already sense, and some of you just already, I know it, is we've had lots of past lives, lots of them. We just have forgotten them through every incarnation. But now, for whatever reason, I see not just me, I see a lot of people around me coming into terms with all of this. So there's some other energetic shift taking place that's a topic for another day. So we'll just stay on topic here.
That's what I talk about, the old energy, the new energy, and why is it different? And kind of get in the middle of why is it different now? So go ahead. Sorry.
Well, so I'm going to experience the physical energy on the mountain. And for 2 weeks, I won't realize what it is. My original plan was to go there for a week, explore it, and then I was going to connect with my son, maybe go to Tahoe or Reno, and just let's get out. We're tired of being in the house. At the end of the first week, I hadn't explored all the places I wanted to, and I hadn't gone to the same place twice. So I reached out to him and I said, I feel like staying another week. Do you mind? He said, no, if you're having fun, stay there. Well, before the story is over, I will have stayed 5 weeks before I went back to Santa Rosa. And I only left because I had to. Otherwise, man, had I found a groove there that I didn't want to leave. So the second week will be the day that the palpability of this energy comes into focus. I'm at the same place I like to start most of my hikes from, at a place called Old Ski Bowl Trailhead. And there's another older couple about my age that are there, and they're taking their last looks at the place before they're getting ready to leave. Well, I can overhear them remarking on the energy that they felt, because they were hiking like teenagers too. I had seen them. And that's when it occurred to me, holy crap, I've been hiking like a 20-year-old every day, day after day. Elevation changes. I should have required a day in between at my age just for my body to catch up, and I didn't need it. That was the day that I would sense this energy that's there on the mountain that is palpable. Exactly. You can feel it. And every year I've been there, it just gets more intense. And these energetic spots that I saw when I went there the first time, because that's what I realized I was really seeking out when I was out in the forest. I wasn't really looking for anybody, although it occurred to me that ascended masters wandered these forests, and Saint Germain certainly exchanged information with Guy Ballard back in the 30s. So you can't rule it out. That wasn't on my radar at all. I just like to go off trail where no one else has gone and explore what energy there is to be found. And I was never disappointed. Now, every year I went back, it seemed like those energetic areas were easier to find, and they didn't seem to be so secret anymore. Well, there's a reason for that too. And with all these energetic changes that are taking place, these energetic places are making it easier for people to find them, so that when the time comes that they need to seek this space out for the reasons they'll understand later, they'll know where it is, and they'll have already ethereally been in touch with it. You feel what it is. So let's see.
I know
over the course of 4 weeks, I'll go all over the mountain, both sides. I'll climb to 10,000 feet in a couple different sides. I'll see all the waterfalls and lakes. The place is elementally just beautiful. So this last weekend, there was a place that I had heard of that I had not explored yet. It's called the Gateway Peace Garden in town. And it's a beautiful little place. I had not really understood what it was, but if you went by it on the street, you'd hardly notice it was there. But once you stop there and experience it, it's an amazing place. And every time I arrange to meet somebody for a hike, we always start our day there. It's just so peaceful and beautiful. So after I had been there, I went up to this spot at Old Ski Bowl Trail, and I was going to decide what I was going to do for the rest of the weekend. Now, there were two things I wanted to do, and one was Black Butte, was this mountain next to Shastina, Black Butte. Well, I had explored, climbing to the peak of that. It's about 6,900 feet or so, and just because I've mentioned it, I want to make sure that anybody that hears this thinks that that was a good idea. I had read some accounts of people that went to the top and made it, and they advised, don't do it. Well, now that I've done it, and I did it alone, and I shouldn't have, my advice is the same. Don't do it. It's slippery slag rock, and for every 2 steps you take forward, you're sliding back 1. It's dangerous. But anyway, I had decided I was going to do that on Saturday. And then as I was sitting where I was looking back at the mountain, it was noon this day. And so, the sun's over the mountain. It's starting to cast shadows. And over on Shastina, it looks to me like there could be cave openings over there. So I made a little note of where they were, and I thought, well, that's what I'll do on Sunday. So Saturday, tomorrow, I'm going to go to Black Butte. Sunday, I'll come back here and we'll make that hike, because it doesn't look like it's that far. Well, Black Butte was a bitch. It took me 6 hours to do that hike, and I was never so happy to see my car at the end of it. I think I started the hike at 10, got back to the car by 4:30, and then by like 6:15, I've had it. I've showered and I'm on my bed, and I'm telling myself, tomorrow, let's just sleep in. We haven't. Let's just stay in bed on Sunday, and we'll just see what comes our way. That was my plan. Well, then Sunday came, and 7 o'clock, like every day, I get up at the same time, and that's my first 20 minutes of meditation, sets the stage for my day. And I tried to go back to sleep, but by 9 o'clock, no, my inner being is telling me, get up, get your clothes on, and head out. So we did. whatever aches and pains I thought I had, the thought of them were gone. And so off I go to this spot. And so I began from where I parked, and there's a lot of people here. It's Sunday. These places are popular. So there's families and couples, and everybody's heading off to the directions they're going to go. But the direction I want to head, I've never really seen anybody take that path along the side of Shastina. Most of them, if they go that way, they want to go up, and they head up the Avalanche Gulch. So I did. I started to make my way around. And when I kind of got to the end of where I knew I was going to have to go off trail, I started to make my way up. And that's where I was being drawn to these energetic places. There were 3 of them on this particular trip that got my attention. The first one, when you saw it, it was almost like a tree that had rocks that it had, grown around. Now, nobody had planted any of this stuff here. So you had to just admire what nature had put here. So I was starting to take in the energy at this spot. And then I noticed there was another one similar up a little bit higher over in that direction. So I thought, I'm just going to move myself and just go explore that. And same sensation, that's the same kind of energy I could feel. But as I was adjusting myself, there was one more spot that got my curiosity. Against the mountain, there were 3 boulders that came out that kind of formed like this little space. And when I went over to take a look at it, yeah, here's the mountain. There's just dried brush on it. And this rock on this side is about this wide, but it's about, it's a little higher than my inseam. So I can get up and over it. And when I do, I stand there, and I have a little procedure I do when I get to these places as a light worker, where I anchor my light. And then I look back at the parking lot where I came from, and like nobody was going to see me from here. And I decided to sit in this little spot for a while. So I had some water and some grapes. And so I was listening to music through my earpods. And after I'd finished the water and the grapes, I put them away in my bag. As soon as I did that, the music stopped. As I had been leaning against the mountain, I sat up like this to see what was going on, because my phone's in my back pocket. And when I pulled it out, there's no power. Well, this doesn't make any sense. It was fully powered when I left the car, and it has a multi battery attached to it. So this should not be a problem. So as I'm trying to turn it back on, I feel a breeze from behind me. And I turn around to take a look, and where I had been leaning up, there is now a hole at least a foot taller than I am when I stand up, and I'm 6 feet tall. So I stand up to take this in, and of course, it's dark. I can kind of tell that this grade goes up and then heads down. Later, it'll certainly make sense that this is a former, a lava tube. But as my eyes are adjusting to the lights, it looks like there's somebody down there. I can't really tell, but down there, maybe 20 yards, 30 yards, it looks like somebody's there. And as soon as I think that there's somebody there, I hear someone say, "Do you wish to see Telos?" Well, you get a little charge in your system when you hear that.
Say that again? What did they say?
Do you wish to see Telos?
You wish to see Telos. Okay, got it.
Yes. So I started to make my way down, and at first glance, I thought this was another adult-sized human, maybe like my size. As I can get closer, and the light adapts to what I'm seeing on the inside, this guy is not my height. He's at least 2 feet taller than I am. And he's dressed in this white cloak, not a gown, just kind of draped material. But on he had these, I call them colored ribbons. Every time I tell the story, this is what I call them, because I don't know what else they call them. But I didn't know if that was indicative of, well, if you're wearing white, is this how you kind of bling up your ensemble, or is this indicative of some rank that you hold? I don't know. As I got closer, he said, "You can call me Alex." And I said, well, that's easy to remember. That's my son's name. He says, yeah, we know about your son. Follow me. So as we make our way down this grade, you can tell down wherever we're heading, there's light coming from that end. And on our journey, he's explaining the nature of the council, who they are, how it's comprised, who the king and queen of Telos are, how many levels there are in Telos. So I get an acclamation before we get to where we're going. As we get closer to the bottom and the light's starting to come up, I look behind me to see where I came from, and there's no light. There's nothing behind me that I can see. Now, it'll take me a couple of years to understand that's a portal, Lowell. That was a portal. Yeah. So when we get into this space at the bottom of this tube, it opens up into, I call it like a staging area. So over in front of us, there's 5 more lava tubes over there. But more interesting is next to us, there's like this platform. It's about 6 foot by 6 foot, and it looks like it has 2 kind of bucket seats on it. There's another one over there, and there's another one over there. Well, as I was looking at all of this, Alex had made his way and got onto the other side and sat in the seat, and he indicated for me to, sit in this one. And so
what a ride.
As soon as my butt hit the seat, this thing levitated, and off we went toward the middle tube over there.
Yes.
Now, here is the part that I was trying, and still to this day, I'm trying to make sense of. You know how when you're moving, you feel the sensation of air going by you. Yeah. Well, we were moving at a pretty good clip, and I didn't feel any of that.
No air, huh?
Then, as we got through this tube, we're getting closer to the other end, wherever this destination is going to take us. You can start to see the lights coming in from the other side. And there's crystals everywhere in the walls. Well, every inch you move forward, the light refraction changes, and you're like in a kaleidoscope. It was just gorgeous. Now, I didn't want that to end, but when it did, all of a sudden, here we are on the first level of Telos. And he takes this hovercraft, for lack of a better word, and takes us up to where you've seen cityscape views and photographs. This is what I'm looking at. I see the city of Telos here, the first level. It's circular in orientation. And in the middle of this particular part of it, there's a huge white temple with a capstone on the top of it. The capstone happens to be white. The pyramid was white. All the other buildings are some form of crystal. You can see pockets of people over here and over there, and they're all clearly taller than I am. And when we finished where we were, and he brought us down closer to the surface, and we were kind of hovering over these to go to wherever we were heading next, I could see the faces of some of these people. And there were 5 or 6 of them that I had an opportunity to see them quick enough to make eye contact with. And it was like I knew them, and they knew me. So now we continue down to the 3rd level, which is where their hydroponic gardens are. And here's where they grow all of the foods that their vegetarian culture eats. And when I saw it, it was explained that this is like 7 acres of it, and the technology was amazing. The idea that it perpetuated its crops so quickly, I still had questions. My little 3rd dimensional brain was trying to think of, how does this feed everybody? And so then I had to kind of go back and review the things that I had known about who actually made it. There's a lot more of the story to the Lemurians that ended up in Telos. And that, the Telos reference I'm referring to right now, is the city underneath Mount Shasta. Telos originally was a huge territory of Lemuria before it all sank. And a lot of the west part of the North America was all Lemurian land. And so it wasn't unusual for this to be part of it. So when they knew that this cataclysm was coming and that Lemuria was eventually going to sink, preparations were being made to move records, crystals, all of the things that they need to into this spot in the mountain where they knew it would be safe. And then they had prepared for 2 million Telosians to make it. At the end, it happened so quickly that only 25,000 of them survived. And then over time, it was my understanding that their ranks grew to like 1.2 million people. So here is where I ask myself, how does that feed 1.2 million people so a couple different meals a day? Well, here's what we need to think about. And when I need to reflect back a little bit more on the description, because I didn't really lavish much on Alex when I was describing him, other than clothes and the bling he was wearing. His features and his complexion was flawless. He had long blonde hair and blue eyes like the Nordics they talk about. So I don't go into it any deeper than that, but flawless is the word that keeps coming to mind. And it'll take me a while to kind of put things into perspective. If we understand this evolution that human beings are going through right now, that all sentient life are being charged with some new levels of light that are coming our way, new photon energy that is feeding our systems and preparing us for a new level of Earth.
Exactly.
Now, in order for us to occupy it, we won't be able to ride around in these carbon bodies and experience that realm. We're already at a cellular level being ready to take crystalline form. And so that's what they are already. They're already crystalline. They eat because they like to eat, not because their body requires some type of nourishment. They're not built that way. So I'm going to take a break, get a sip of water.
Okay, I will too.
All right, so we're going to leave the third level and we're going to make our way back to the first level. And if I'd have told the entire story, I would have told you about this round building that I noticed when we first got here and we were hovering around, because it was kind of on this end of what I was seeing. And this is our next stop. So this hovercraft lands in front of this building that is a series of crystal panels. In the front of it, there is the equivalent of like a French doors, that size opening, but there's no doors. On this side and on this side, on these panels, are inscribed a couple of codes that look damn familiar to me. I had seen the first day I visited Shasta, there was really no time to hike. I was going to check in and then let's just check out Main Street. And the places I visited, one was called Blue Star Child Gallery. Haruko is a little Japanese woman who runs a shop, and she's a gifted artist. That explanation doesn't do her justice. The first day I went in the shop, I ended up not staying because I didn't understand the circumstances, but I wanted to come back when I could spend some more time anyway. Before I left, though, I looked at this image directly in front of me when I came in the door. It was 3 feet wide, 10 feet high, and it was symmetrical on both sides. This thing had been hand drawn, I'll learn later, with no rulers and no curvature tools. And then she goes back and colors them in. They take months to do. She lays them on the floor and they're done. These are light codes that have come to her. And she didn't have just one. The walls were lined with them. She's got one room in the back that has 5 of them that are powerful. And the day I came back a couple of days later, I'd come out of that place after 20 minutes in tears just because of the energy that was in there. It was crazy. So when I saw these and I remarked to Alex, I said, these look familiar. He goes, yeah, those are Haruko's. She got the codes right. And so we engraved them here. This is New Earth. And this is the new angelic code. This is the human blueprint. So
I met her in Mount Shasta last year. I met her.
She's incredible, isn't she?
She's angel age too, right? She channels and she does meditation with angels. Isn't she with a harp? Does she, I don't remember whether she did the harp.
She's got other. When I met her, I just was fascinated by her artwork.
Yes.
And that didn't even speak to the creative side, because she loves bunnies, and you should see what that turns into. She's a musician and a singer. I didn't know any of that. She had kind of put on a little concert for some of us, and we all went in like, oh my God.
If it was the violin that she was doing.
She plays a flute, and she's got like 5 different ones that she plays.
Some kind of music.
Anyway, she's amazing. But so back to the story.
I'm sorry.
Now we make our way into this space, and in the middle of it, there's a round table. It's the only wood piece I've seen here so far, and you can tell there's cool things embedded in it, and there's 13 chairs around it. This is the council chamber, I will learn. And so while I'm in this space, I'm beginning to feel this sensation. And think of the best hug you've ever received. This is the sensation that I could feel in like my heart core. The whole time you're in the space, it was like it was just pressing you the whole time you're there. There was some kind of rhythm to it, but the whole time you were in here, and after a few minutes before the other people came in, I was thinking, wow, if you were going to have a meeting, here's the way to soften everybody else up on the way in. Because holy cow, did that open my heart space. Well, as I was kind of taking all that in, 5 more people come in from the opposite side. I can tell, according to photographs, which don't do him justice, Adam is in the middle, and he's a foot taller than the other females flanking him. There are 2 feminine souls on this side, 2 on that side, and they're all taller than I am. When they approach the table, they offer a seat for me to take, and then 3 of them sat on this side, 3 of them sat on this side. And now I'm going to begin to understand why I'm here. Each one of them told me what their name was, told me a little bit about them. So, of course, I can remember Alex, and I remember Adama, because that was pretty simple. Of the women I talked to, and some of those are now coming into my memory a little bit more, the only ones whose name I really remember was the first one, Shiama, because after this point, she seemed to chair the meeting. She was the one who was going to lay out, the things that were going to be addressed. And so she began by explaining that the Lemurians were also well aware of how imminent the shift was. And all of these preparations are being made so that they can rejoin the surface. But that was never going to happen until the vibration of the surface matches their environment, and here comes New Earth. So the timing is right. When they told me that, I was thrilled. This is July of 2020. All the research that I had done had pointed toward winter solstice 2020 in my mind, on the approximate time when this was actually, the trigger was going to get pulled. It will turn out that it didn't happen on that particular day. But what I do know is that, this is a process. And we're at the end of this process for all the things that are going on. And we're just too busy in our little 3D lives to pay attention to any of it that's going on, but it doesn't keep it from happening. Anyhow, so they explained that their interest was, again, rejoining with humanity on the surface and sharing their technology with us. There's a part of them that they look at us with a certain level of awe. They've reached the level of consciousness where, duality, they experience it, but the collective comes together and, we resolve it and we're done with it. There's no more 2 sides of anything anymore. We don't have to deal with that. Where was I going with this? Dang it.
About the reason why you were there.
Well,
the council.
I was describing why humanity was so dear to them. What is it that makes humanity so creative? It's our emotions, isn't it? Their emotions don't play like ours do anymore. They've reached that level of peace and serenity, and they don't really get fired up the way that we do. So imagine if they took their technologies and shared it with us with our kind of creativity, because human beings by nature, we want to make things better. I'm looking forward to the day when we get to join with them again and they share their technology with us. So now they're going to zero in on why me.
Yeah,
so
why you?
There were three things. First was that they understood that they claimed I was capable of holding fifth dimensional awareness, consciousness. And, I thought I did. I thought I had, but it was validating to hear them say that. And clearly, now that I think back on all that, of course you did, or you never would have been able to experience that in the first place. Your vibration wouldn't have been high enough. But anyway, number two was that they understood I was a protector of Gaia. Now, where they heard that, I don't know, because the only time that that phrase was uttered was 2 years earlier in an ayahuasca journey. And that was something that Mother Ayahuasca had called me. So I don't know how they dug things out of their Akashic records, but they did. And they made me stop for a moment. They go, where do you get your information? And then the third piece.
Spies are there.
The third piece was that, when this rejoining took place, they wanted to know if I would act as an emissary. And I stopped the same way I did right now. I mean, what do you say to that? The quick answer is, yeah, sure. But in the meantime, what's going through my head is, why me? How me? How did I get here? You don't utter those things. Because if you really want any of this to play out, you don't question it. You just go with the flow. That's, we've talked about that plenty of times. And when you do, you will see the magic that's waiting for you to see. Exactly. So then Adama chimed in and only said that the entire council was unanimous on their opinions about what was about to take place. And they really hoped that, I would agree. What I'll learn later is that I am a Lemurian and that I did incarnate for this very purpose for right now. There were only a certain amount of things that our vibrations could change. There's lots of energetic help around us, lots of other angelic help in the next realm, all standing by waiting for us to help. But there are things that they can't do because they're not incarnated. This is why many of us did incarnate back in the 50s and the 60s, because we knew that this time was going to come. And the only way that we could really enact change was to be in incarnation here. And so, this was the avatar I chose for this one, knowing that somewhere before my life exhausts here, the earth is about to flip into her new form. Mm-hmm. So, with that, when I agreed and said I would be honored, the meeting was over. Like, they stood up and they bowed in my direction and off they went, and they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. Alex and I got back on the hovercraft and made our way back to the spot where we had picked it up. And I hadn't said much in any of this. In fact, I didn't say anything. I wanted to just take it in and I'll unpack it later. But I did have two questions. And so here was my opportunity to ask them. The first one was that, can I tell anybody? And he kind of laughed. And he said, we want you to tell people. We want others to know that we're here and that this is real. And the second was, can I come back? He said, yes, you'll be able to return before the shift.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Well, yes, but I don't know when that's going to be. It could be a little more definitive on when that might be. Well, we'll see.
It hasn't come yet. The train hasn't come yet. It's coming. It's coming. It's
So
coming.
as soon as that part of the conversation I remember, the next thing I remember after that is sitting back where I had had grapes and water prior to that. Kind of made my way back down to the car in a daze. Don't really remember much of the hike on the way there. All I remember was when I got to the parking lot and I saw all these cars and people. I thought to myself, not one of you knows where I just went.
It's like, I get it.
Welcome to Telos.
That's right. Exactly. How we met was definitely serendipitous. It definitely was. And what I uh, looked into you, and I seen those pictures that you had done, and now you have affirmation cards, correct? Some of the pictures
Yes.
you made up from what you've seen down in Telos, correct?
Yes.
Right.
I'm glad you said that. One of the things I desperately wanted to do, I wish that there was a way that I could just take this off and put it on you like a VR unit so you could see what I saw. Because I knew that illustrations were much better than just telling a story. Pictures, when you could add that to a story, it made it much more powerful. So, anyway, I had been invited to a podcast the year before last, and the host had a sidekick, Luis. Luis was a graphic artist. And when he had heard about my story, he went to one of his AI tools and started to conjure up some keyword images of what he had come up with from Telos. And so prior to the taping, we were in the green room and he was starting to show me some of these. And the first few, I went, yeah, 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 yeah. And then, oh my God, oh my God. And there were like three in succession where he nailed it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I just found the guy that's going to help me illustrate this for others. Well, that was half right. I found the guy who was going to teach me the tools. And within 72 hours of the time that took place, and none of this was simple. I take the technology like water, so I get that. But even in my mind, I learned all of this faster than I should have and started to pour out those images that you've seen, and they triggered me. Man, by the end of a couple of days, I had over 1,000, easy. The program will you put in a series of keywords, and the sequence of the keywords will very much make a difference. Then it'll spawn 4 ideas of images for you to consider. Now, if you like the first one, you can upscale that one and save it. If you like it, but you want to see some different, you can make variations of that one. And if you didn't like any 4 of them, you can maybe 4 new variations with the same stuff. Well, man, I was going down rabbit holes. I think you saw those energetic portals, those light portals. That was my first project. Now you see why there's 52 of them at the end, because they're all different and they all had different places to show. So when I started to show them to others and they were triggering others in the same way, that's when I knew I had to figure out a way to distribute these. And through a series of requests and things just kind of lined up, it just made sense to make a deck of these things. So I had hundreds of images. What do you do? How big should the deck be? And what do you want to use them? So I had broke out images in 4 different categories. I had inner earth, elementals, stargates and portals, and galactic travelers. And I had certainly enough to do 60 cards in each one of these editions. So that's what you've seen.
Right. I love that.
They were a blast.
Oh, I know. And when I seen those pictures and the connection with my picture up on the wall here, it's like I knew there is no coincidence. And I had gotten that the weekend that I found out about you, and I brought that home. And it was the week later, I think it was a week later, is when I looked at those pictures and I said, oh my goodness. It was like, whoa, no coincidence. No coincidence at all. and the tree limbs and the lightning bolts and the light language, everything was just in the same colors. It's like, whoa, this
It
isn't
was the color spectrums that really nailed it for me. And when I saw those colors, my concern when I thought about printing them was their ability to replicate what I was seeing in terms of colors, because I was seeing crazy spectrums of little nuances, and they nailed it. The cards, I don't know how they did it. The cards are glossy, but the colors they nailed. I I was proud of it when I was done, but it was like this just came through me, guys.
So what are you going to do with it now?
Um,
What do you have plans, or do you know yet, or well, you know what? Let's talk about those cards and where you're going from here. They said they wanted you to tell the world. Why did they want you to tell the world? That's one way of telling the world with the
it
affirmation
is.
card. That's one way. What
Yes.
what's some other ways that you're going to tell the world besides connecting with me and a bunch of other people that you've been networking with?
I I've been out here long enough so that maybe I should kind of lay out what my expectations were. At first, when all this happened, and it was made clear to me that a lot of the information I was receiving was meant for everybody, that I was an example. Really, that's it. And if people start to look at, the way that your light shines and, the things you talk about, they'll either catch on or they won't.
Yeah.
And at first, I really thought that I was here to be a new catalyst. And I thought when the uninitiated heard me or saw me, that all of a sudden something would shift inside of them and they would at least be open to exploring things they had not in the past. Well, it didn't work out that way. And so I'll share a little bit about somebody I had met, Kumu. And Kumu was the one responsible for me connecting with the light beings I have my interactions with. God dang. Now, what was I talking about? Because I got, dang it. It's what happens when there are
That's
lots
okay.
of rabbit holes.
I'm there, Lowell. I'm gonna say rabbit hole is you, and sometimes we have to go in different ones, but that's okay. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Okay. So what are your plans for the next year or so? Do you have any plans, or are you just taking one day at a time, or what's going on there?
Just to, let me take you back to, no, I will finish my thought. Anyway,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
very first conference I ever spoke at, there was a young woman named Barbarella who made her intent to stay and catch me at the end. And then for about an hour and a half after, we kind of shared a lot of things that she had not opened up with anybody else yet. And I thought, well, I felt good about it when it was all done. Well, later that evening, I had talked to Kumu and I explained what had happened. And she said, that's one. I said, what do you mean that's one? She goes, yeah, you're going to be one at a time in it for a while with people. You will talk in front of groups, but I sense that's not where you're most effective. You're most effective in small groups. And so the whole time I was expecting this flood of people to come that never did, I learned to be content with the ones and twos at a time because they get it.
exactly.
They want to move to the next level, and that's what I'm here to help them with.
Exactly.
I love everybody else, and I'm here cheering for humanity, and I send love and light to every one of you. But I don't have the time and attention to spend on a lot of the 3D things that you guys choose to, because I know where we're going, and that's where I'm going to feed my energy so that I see more of that come my way. The clock is ticking. I'm just telling you that this change that the earth is going through is imminent, and I'll hold myself up as an example. I'm a guy who's had a third dimensional life and was very successful. And I have no business talking about any of this. So why do I feel like I'm compelled to do it? Because I'm here to help the rest of you get it. I have levels of information that have been revealed to me that'll help you guys come to terms with this change that's coming, and I'm ready to help anybody. But I'm not beating anybody over the head with it. And if you don't agree with it, I understand that and I respect it. You have your own journey, your own lessons you're carrying out. Who am I to get in the way of that? I really want to see you succeed because I want to see who you master at the end of all of this too. We're just ready for something else. And it was going to take a reset. I've looked at how extreme the extremes have gotten. And when I asked myself, because at first, when this whole idea of higher consciousness came my way, and that Earth's consciousness is also rising, it was put to me that the way the Earth will finally achieve it is when humanity reaches 51% of their consciousness. It'll boost the Earth. Well, here, let me set the record straight. Earth's ascension and humans' ascension, two different things. Earth, she's guaranteed. She's a lock. She's in a cosmic cycle that she's been into for a long time. We're just part of the sentient critters crawling on her surface, hoping that our vibration matches hers when the time comes when hers rises. That's what all this effort's about. That's all the things that we're talking about, is to get everybody on board with the idea that your vibration matters. Mm-hmm. And so if you need to break that down to figure out how you adjust it, get a hold of, understand your system, how your chakras function, make sure they're all functioning properly, and then your connection will take place. I'm here to tell you that I've had enough of these multidimensional experiences from inner Earth beings, ultra terrestrials. The time is right for this contact to take place. And I was even told last year that greater contact was going to be made. I kept waiting for the rest of you to catch up and share your stories with me. I didn't think I was going to continue on my path. And really, at the beginning of the year, I recognized that I actually stopped some of my spiritual growth because I was ignoring new things that were being presented to me while I waited for the rest of you. Yeah. Now I know better.
Yeah, it's a, everybody's in the boat together. It's not like one doing this thing, the other one doing that thing. It's coming together in the right time. Like, you're going to continue, but you're doing it in a different way than it was done before. And that's what it's all about. Everything's changing. Everything's changing, and we have to go with the flow and go into our gut and really feel it. And that's when you were talking about the inner beings, you know, in the earth, and also the extraterrestrials and stuff like that. And a lot of people are so scared of that when we are aliens, we are extraterrestrial. That's who we are. That's where we came from. Our family and that is here helping us now is Mother Gaia and the frequency that she has. And we just have to set the intention and want to do it. Just like we never thought, you know, years ago, how we were brought up, we were going to do this, this, and this, and this is never going to die, and that's it. It's like, no, we're here on purpose to be in the light, to share our vibration, and to help others along on their light and continue in that grid, in that light grid, all connected, all doing the same thing.
100%. That's the mission.
Exactly. And a lot of people always say, what is your mission? What is your purpose? And I have a different purpose than that person does and whatever, but it's all one. And it's
you know, I hope that when people hear this, they embrace that idea, because none of us were supposed to be models of anybody else. There is a mastery that each one of us is trying to achieve that's different from everybody else's.
And it's different, and then it's the same. It's a difference, and then it's the same.
Well, when you add it to the collective, now you see how it benefits us all. And your little piece of the fabric, ours was not, my tribe is not complete without your piece. I can't do what you do, but I don't have to, because we have you.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And just like putting the pieces about the Telos and the City of Lights and the stories that we've heard and the people that have been on this journey for a while, we've known about it, but really not understood it, but said, okay, well, I'm just going to keep going. The crystal vibration, the frequency, our crystalline vibration inside our cells, our DNA. What does it mean when we're all connected? It's like it will all come together when it's supposed to. And that's
I'm one of those you just described, one of those that I didn't know what was going on. I just kept going.
Exactly. And that's all we have to do is just, and that's what I tell my people. It's like, don't worry about yesterday or project about tomorrow. Just keep it in today and just work on raising your vibration and allowing it to come in. And then as you do that, your vibration will bring in the collective,
Right.
and you all will come together. You will all come together. And that's what we're all here to do.
That's how you and I connected. Look, something else happened after the beginning of the year where there's been some other energetic shift, because there was a whole nother wave of other people than you that had never heard of me, never heard of my story, although it's like 4 years old. And here they are showing up like, oh my God, where have you been? And now the tribe is assembling.
And I think that, the work that was done last year with the Stargate and Vivian and the portals that were open and the libraries and the key, everything really opened up into the future, and our future selves are coming back, helping us, bringing us all together too. I think that is that's a big thing right there.
Yeah, but that's maybe a concept that some of your listeners might not
understand
yet.
I get that.
Yeah, when your future self comes back, I totally resonate with that, and I understand what you're saying.
Exactly.
But we got to help them understand just multidimensionality first, and then we can go to the other stages.
So how would you describe multidimensionality besides ESP and knowing and consciousness?
Well, you have all these telekinetic type of abilities that are restored. I say restored because these are abilities you've had in past lives. It's just time for your DNA to crack them open so we can use them now, because it's time. How dimensional? There's no 3D thing for me to really fit that description into, but I can tell you that whatever this sensation kicked into gear, my 5 senses all became much more acute, first of all. And now I see sound and light and sound auras, spectrums that I did not before. And it's just a matter of you feel yourself in this elevated vibration. And this is all the stuff that's around me in it. So once that vibration you were talking about, everybody achieving, you don't have to look for any of this stuff. Once your vibration gets here, then you're seeing everything that is here as well, vibrating at the same level. And if I can get here, everybody can get here.
Exactly. When people ask me, because I used to be very strong Christian and involved in the Christian whatever, and I resonate, with the metaphysics in the galactic, and they say, well, what is the difference? And I says, well, first of all, my soul knew it, all right, and that I didn't work very well in that arena. But what I did, like a lot of people would say, well, do you have ESP? And that's how, I see dead people type of thing, back 20 years ago, the movie that came out. It's like, mine's never been, learning, you got to do this, you got to do that. Mine was always the knowing and being in the energy and having the direction and having the guidance on the inside, because I couldn't hear people on the outside, being hard of hearing. Of course I can now with my hearing aids, but mine wasn't like, okay, well, you have to do A, B, and C before you can reach this way. It's like, I'm already there. Why do I have to do that? However, I understand that's part of the evolution, how certain people have to learn how to get here. And then there's people like you that all of a sudden, wham, you're there. And like Lily and some of the other ones, it's like, and it's like, we're all part of the collective. We're all part of, and also putting everything together, like the puzzle together. And what I talked about with Lily is that putting the tapestry. We're all part of the thread. We're all part of the
Yes.
piece of the puzzle, and it's all the collective energy, the consciousness energy, in the matrix, and also in the galactic, in the
Yes.
cosmic connection, and the multidimensional frequency above is where we're going, and that's what was meant to be. And there's
We
some.
do not have really any clue of the power of the vibrations that we put out, the light that we emit. If you don't see yourself that way, I would suggest that you begin to, because you do. And now, when we have these exchanges with like minded people, every time I step away from these, there was always something in the exchange that I got out of it every time. And I just feel as though all of a sudden I just I like leveled up again. Who can we have these conversations with? That's really what, when this began, I didn't tell my story to tell the story about Telos. I was looking for freaking touchstones on somebody that could explain to me what happened.
Uh-huh.
That is what it was. And I still hold that out. We're all looking for touchstones, especially when these crazy, extraordinary things are beginning to happen to us. And we got no frame of reference for any of this. Who can help me understand this? That's what we're serving. And we weren't going to be able to be any good at it until we went through it ourselves.
Exactly.
They say that the best way to, heal yourself from being an alcoholic is to, listen to one. I don't know that that was the best analogy to use, but
Well,
this is similar. Here, you're finally getting to interact with it. And I don't say this, I'm not bragging. I just know that I've reached a level that the rest of you are getting to, but you're not here yet. It's not good or bad, and we're not measuring things in scopes. We're all getting there, but some of us we're a little more advanced down the road so that we can help the rest of you behind us with stuff we were never prepared for. Our schools didn't teach us this. Churches didn't teach us this. Our friends didn't teach us this. Who was going to? Those people that did know about it, for whatever reasons, they kept it under wraps. But there's a lot of Earth's history that we've been clueless about. And now, that information is being provided for us in other ways.
exactly. And that's where I see my role was from the beginning into where it's going now. And it keeps changing. It keeps changes to higher, higher, higher. Things are making so much more sense. Get out of the fear and just step into your divinity. Come from who you really are, a divine soul. And a lot of people don't. You're trying to be God. Well, I am God. We're all God. We're all part of the energy,
Yeah.
of light and love. And then, of course, there's the lower frequency too. But it's like they're understanding. Some people's understanding, they get so wrapped up in words. Well, metaphysical is evil type thing. It's like, well, is it?
But that's our third dimensional reflex. We've always had to categorize something somehow
That's
in
our
order
linear
for us
mind.
to understand it. And once I did, then I know that there's a good side and there's a bad side. We're about to break that pattern so that we don't live in that freaking duality and limit ourselves to that perspective. Because
Exactly.
you're right. When we see something happen with somebody else that we don't understand, or we think they're making a mistake, we have no idea what their lessons are, nor what their journey is. So
Exactly.
again, who am I to interrupt any of that? If my wish is really to see you gain the mastery that you have at the end of your road, that's what I'm here to support and allow. I'm not here to get in the way, because that's just another karma cord that I don't need in the first place.
We don't need those lessons. We don't even need to go there anymore. We don't.
No, no.
No.
Well,
No way.
we don't. We don't think of things. We don't see things from that perspective anymore. So we don't even hatch those ideas. we're only around them because they're around us, and we're just reacting to the environment we find ourselves in.
Exactly.
But we've been straddling dimensions here for a while.
Right.
We know what this is like, and it just gets harder and harder to come back to this.
But it's getting better. And
yes.
And I have a smile on my face when I meet people like you, and I meet they say tribe, but I just call it star family, soul family,
right.
cosmic family, whatever you want to call it. It's like it's serendipity, synchronicity, and it's exactly how it's supposed to be. Exactly how it's supposed to be. And tomorrow might be a new day. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I do know that I'm okay just today. So I am so excited about talking with you, and definitely I got to have you back. And this has been a delight for my people, but also for your people and everybody else's people, for us to have conversations like this. And this is what
honey, that's what these are all about. When we come together, we're connecting tribes. We're connecting your circle with my circle, and that's how this knowledge perpetuates the way that it's supposed to. And it's right now, I see it's catching fire. Like I see it connecting to the next hub, and all of a sudden it goes like that. And the beauty in this is that I was talking about this with Lily when we were having our conversation. There's a difference between, I never saw myself as a channeler, and I've corrected myself by saying that because I know I channel shit all the time now.
It's the interpretation of what you think channeling is. It's like what you've learned. Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm just in touch with something greater than that, and I can't deny it. And now when you find other tribe members,
Get excited.
I want to explain things in higher explanations that no one's ready for yet.
Well, maybe they are. That's why they need us to talk like this.
Well, we will. When you started to wrap this up, I was thinking, this was a pretty good, kind of umbrella.
Yeah.
Yes. Now we can start to dig into the little fractal wells that really you need some comprehension just to understand the big picture. It took me years, guys. And I know I was on accelerator rate to understand these little pieces of the puzzle so that they made sense to me. And I'm a Capricorn. Due diligence is my middle name. So I exhaust things so that at the end, I either understand it or I would tell you that I don't. There's no in between, and I'm not going to bullshit you because there's no need for me to do that. Besides, the things that I'm not expert in, there are people in the tribe that are. So I don't have to pretend that I'm something I'm not. I stay in my lane and I ask them for assistance when I need it. That's what they're here for. So I hope that when people hear that, they resonate, that they know that between the two of us and the tribes we represent, if somebody that hears this wants to reach out, they just have to do that. We're both willing to help anybody. And you don't come to me with a subscription period. I know that there are light codes that I have holding for others that I'm willing to share. But you don't have to come back once a week to get them. Once I pass them to you, you have them. And really, it's your obligation to pass them on now, too. Yes.
I don't want to close this, but I know we have to. It's going to get too long. Lowell, can you tell people how they get a hold of you?
The best way is to go through my website, and rather than tell you the cryptic nature of my domain name, if you type Lowell Johnson, all one word, .info, it'll take you right to my site. There you can find my YouTube channels, you can find Instagram from there, but most of the stuff is posted on my site there too.
Exactly.
So thank you for asking.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I thank you for being here. Thank you, dear brother of life.
It was my pleasure, really.
Sure. And we'll have you back real soon, because we're going to continue this conversation. So
yes.
Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And remember, just let your light shine. Let it shine brightly, because you are divine and you are living your mastery. So Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you. Till next time. Bye-bye. Are you ready to ascend to new heights of consciousness? Are you ready to live your Ascension Wisdom Mastery? Dive into the Galactic Ascension Academy, where cosmic wisdom meets spiritual evolution. Unlock premium courses with like-minded seekers. Join a community of awakened souls and experience monthly group healing sessions. Elevate your journey with Star Mother's activations, teachings, and meditations. Join the Galactic Ascension Academy today and awaken the Stardust DNA within you. The cosmic journey starts now.